Alrighty, latest episode, Red Leaf for Retrocast Wrestling. Ricky, we're back for another episode. How you doing?
Hi, I am pretty good, actually.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, we're counting down to a couple weeks where we're both going to the Wrestival.
Festival. It's like our anniversary.
Yeah, kinda. It's like the annual meetup between us.
That was the catalyst. I mean, that's when we met.
That's right. So I'm very excited. Do you have some of the matches that's going to be listed off for... I know we're definitely going to the Prestige and Beyond Heavy Lies the Crown show, for sure.
We're going to the Prestige show, and we are going to Beyond Heavy Lies the Crown. Now you're putting me on the spot. I didn't have these pulled up. But let me do this as quick as I can. So for Prestige... I am very excited to see the American Wolves versus the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, that's a huge match. Even in my days of watching TNA, that was like a huge marquee type deal of why I watched TNA through all those horrid years. But those,
yeah,
and I don't think I've ever seen Davey Richard live. So that's going to be...
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's going to be quite the experience. I've seen all the others.
Okay.
No, I've never seen Chris Sabin live. Either.
I've never seen... Wait, no, that's a lie. I was at All Out. I was about to say I had never seen Chris Sabin live either. And then I remembered they were at All Out this year. But my first exposure to Davey Richards was one of his first matches back. It was over All Out Weekend 2021 at AAW in Chicago. He faced Daniel Garcia. And I was already on board the Daniel Garcia train at that point, but I hadn't convinced my partner Jason yet. He's like, yeah, he's good or whatever, you know. And then Jason saw Daniel Garcia versus Davey Richards live and in person. He's like, okay, I get the Daniel Garcia thing now. But that was the first time I had even heard of Davey Richards. I didn't know that whole history. So I went back and did some of that research after that.
Besides the bring your own weapons match that Heavy Lies the Crown does every year, what's a couple of the marquee matches for that show?
I wasn't done with Prestige.
Well, I mean, there's the Casey Navarro match that looks pretty cool.
That one's going to be phenomenal. Also, Anthony Green versus Kevin Blackwood. I'm slightly disappointed. I'm excited, but mildly disappointed. I'm excited for C4. See them live. Mm-hmm. Prestige is big tag team. I didn't realize they had announced a match for C4. It's against the Brick City Boys, which will be very good, but I really wanted to see them versus Miracle Generation.
Yeah, that's definitely the match I was kind of hoping for.
Which we could potentially still see because they're doing a tag tournament that weekend, and the finals will be at Heavy Lies the Crown. So there's an off chance we will still get to see C4 versus Miracle Generation.
Yeah, I just feel like it'd be better for the Prestige show.
Yeah. I'm like I said,
associate them with the promotion.
Oh, absolutely. I just really wanted to see what's his name? Is it Cody? Is the taller guy from C4? Whatever the taller guy. I wanted to see him and Dustin Flash, in a ring together. So someday, they're both very, very, very young. We'll get to see it at some point. I am looking for a Heavy Lies the Crown amalgamation of matches. I'm only seeing... I know the most recent one they announced was Aaron Rourke versus Dan Barry, which will be fun. But that's obviously not selling tickets. Oh, here it is. Max Caster versus JD Drake.
That's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Mm-hmm. Willow versus Lufisto.
That'll be solid.
And as of right now, you mentioned the fans bring the weapons match. So originally it was supposed to be Becca versus Alec Price. And Alec Price lost or he didn't lose, but he drew in the match where if he didn't win, it would have to leave Worcester. So he got pulled from the match.
And they replaced him. Storyline stipulation they're throwing in there.
Yeah. Which also he's been wrestling at Wrestling Open under a mask the past 2 weeks. So
sure.
I mean, as a completely different wrestler, like we're not supposed to know it's him, but we're supposed to know, but we're not supposed to know. Anyway, so they pulled him from the match and they replaced him with Slade. So initially it was then going to be Slade versus Becca and fans bring the weapon. And then last week at Wrestling Open, they made it a triple threat with Slade, Becca, and Atticus Cogar, which, I mean, it's not my style typically. I would have been interested to see what Becca and Alec did together.
Even though I'm not a fan of the Becca Price storyline or Becca in general, though I will admit that she has gotten significantly better. There is praise there for sure. Although that should be expected when wrestlers continue in their careers. They
continue, sure. I mean, she's still relatively new. She's
I think her best move is that top rope front drop kick that she's been doing. I like that move from her.
That move is great. I also forgot that she does a 450. I watched. On a rare occasion.
Yeah.
I watched. Was it Limitless last week that I watched? It was Becca versus Kylie Rae. And it was a very fine match. I didn't turn away or get distracted at all. I watched the whole thing. They put over that Kylie Rae really was a role model for Becca and kind of got her into wrestling. And they wrestled that way. Becca, never took a mic. She never really did a bunch of storyline stuff. It was just these two women who are, this younger wrestler who was inspired by Kylie, and they had a match. And that's the story that they told.
Yeah, it's I get these kinds of things. It's just what's missing on the indies and what's missing in Beyond Wrestling for quite some time now is the storytelling, is the act of booking something from show to show, whether that's week to week in the case of Wrestling Open, or even month to month when they run their monthly shows. That's been my big criticism and why I've lost a lot of it. It's not even so much the talent that's been lost, because we've talked about this before, and a lot of the indie scene in general in the United States is lacking that kind of storyline-esque booking. Even if it's from a sports perspective. Would it have killed this company to book something with Becca pursuing to beat Kylie Rae, rather than just, this is my dream match, I wanted to face her? Because as a fan, it's like, okay, great, good for you. But what's the fan being invested in?
I mean, for me, that was enough for me as a fan. Whereas, so the other match that
I guess I'm looking for different things is what I'm driving at.
Yeah, and that's fair. And we're just diving into indie talk, but I also on that same card from Limitless, the show was called Dirty Laundry. It was December 3rd.
Yeah, Dirty Laundry, like me trying to fix my washer. the past like week and a half.
Yeah. So the match that stood out to me, and I would go out of your way to find this one on IWTV. It was spectacular. It was a tag match. It was the Workhorsemen versus Above the Rest.
Okay.
This was phenomenal. I would go out of your way to watch this match. It's not like a Dave Meltzer 5-star in the Tokyo Dome, whatever, but
just throwing the meme out there, aren't you?
But it was.
Well, how many stars would you give it since you're throwing the Big Dave scale out there?
On your scale, I would give it a 3. I would go out of your way to watch this match.
Big Dave 4-star match.
Yeah.
Oh, it's high praise.
Maybe. I don't know. It's an indie match. It's so hard to rate them on the same scale. But on your scale, it's a 3. I would go out of your way to watch this
must
match.
watch. That's what the scale is. It's a must watch as a fan. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, is that what 3 is? Must watch. Oh,
yeah, it's must watch.
It's like a 2.5. It's like a 2.5.
There it is. Okay.
Your life isn't going to be changed by watching this match.
Moving the mic there, Kat.
Like I said, it is worth going out of your way to watch. I think. The Workhorsemen just destroyed the younger guys. Like, absolutely just worked them over, and they just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And I want to go watch it again right now. Actually, now that I'm talking about it, I want to go watch that match again.
That's the point of, tag matches and whatnot, is the high octane and energy. And, I just got done watching a couple weeks ago the Stardom Tag League.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's a tournament I was very much looking forward to this year because the roster's gotten so much better. It's gotten deeper. All of the tandems I've enjoyed very much the last year and a half, 2 years. And the way the tournament has been booked and coming off the 5-star Grand Prix, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it just felt like all the matches were in second gear the whole time. Like, I didn't have a single match outside of the first night that cracked a 3 out of 3. And that was pretty disappointing. And then on top of it all, I kind of hated the final night and how it was booked and who went over and who was highlighted. Didn't enjoy that. So when I hear a team like Miracle Generation on the indies and I go on my way to watch like a match of theirs and I just kind of kick back and relax and it's high octane energy the whole time. C4 is another team I tend to watch.
And this team Above the Rest, let me tell you. So Anthony Henry had the one guy pinned down I say pinned down, but you know what I mean? Like, isolated for a long ass time. Like, they were just, like I said, they were just, coming at him and cutting him and destroying these guys. And yeah, it just kept coming back and coming back. And then when they finally tagged out, Tristan Ty comes in and starts exchanging strikes. I'm going to send you this GIF right now. I swore that my feed had like buffered and this was like sped up to get me, like, no. This is actual time, how fast these strikes and blows are happening. Like, I did not know people could move and strike so quickly. And then...
Oh, it's pretty rad.
Yeah, right? And then, they just, keep doing the babyface comeback thing through the whole match. It's... Oh, I seriously do want to it again right now.
I like Above the Rest. That's another team. There's just a lot of these teams that remind me of like the Young Bucks and the Hardy Boys, kind of in their prime kind of deal. And they're doing the hybrid lucha American style, and they're mixing in their own to make it seem like it's their match, and that's just cool to see.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the Wrestival. I'm looking forward to at least the two shows we're going to, and us meeting up. I guess we have plans to record in person together, which is going to be pretty rad.
Yay!
And then besides that, in other news, the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame Awards came out. Who's in the latest class, and the results are in. 6 new inductees via the voting. Akira Taue Kawada, the Holy Demon Army, 76%. Mystico, 76%. Both teams, both people, I guess you could say, I voted for. Naito Ibushi, 65%. Very happy there. Another 2 people I voted. Los Villanos, I did not vote for. I voted for, I believe it was Hermantes Dinamita. And they just missed out on the 60% to get in. So I think they're going to get in next year. I will vote again. Or was that the team that I was on the fence over and I ended up with Octagon? I think it was the other way around. I can't remember, but regardless, I will need to do more research on Dinamita next year, regardless of that. But Villanos going in, it's tough because I believe one Villano is Hall of Fame worthy, while the family is like a legacy situation. It's very tough for me to decide, and I spoke about that when we discussed the Hall of Fame audio. Yeah, it's like, how do I put, Villano 3 over Villano 4 kind of situation, and to do a whole family seems odd to kind of put them all together when they never felt like a group to begin with to me. I'm just using them as an example of my kind of mixed feelings to that. And then a guy who's been on the fence for a long time in the voting is Rollerball Mark Rocco. Big style change in the UK kind of situation. So he's in. He finally got in. Another year of Big Daddy memes to go forward. George Kidd and I think it's Ramos didn't get in. No, Jose Torres. It's very tough for Europeans to get in because it's we'll call it the European territory, if you will. Not a lot of people know about like the history of Germany in wrestling and Spain and France and those kinds of situations. So very limited to the just voting pool. It's almost like asking the Baseball Hall of Fame writers to write about baseball in, I don't know, the Netherlands. A rich history, but nobody knows about it. Another year, Sergeant Slaughter comes close and doesn't get in, and a number of different names. I guess I'll just continue voting for them next year, but what's interesting for me as a voter is now that Naito and Ibushi are through, that essentially makes my voting for the Japan region much easier for the people that have had to kind of kick out the last couple of years. As in, they're like the 6th place. So Ishii is finally my guy to vote for next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have Shima, guys like Shima, Shingo, and Ishii are 1, 2, 3, no problem going forward. And I think Hayabusa is gonna crack that list too, because now I have the spots open for this, and I've wanted to vote for them. But when you only have 5 choices, you have to pick the best of the best. You have to start choosing others based on who you think has the higher Hall of Fame credentials. And when it's always come down to Ishii for me, is he's just in ring, and my opinion is, because it's in ring, it's very, subjective to it all. Like, I think Naito and Ibushi are just as good or better than Ishii, and they also have a lot of the drawing records and influence that Ishii, to me, doesn't have in comparison to them. But I still think Ishii is like a top 50 to 100 guy ever, and that's where he kind of slots in. So Shima, Shingo, Ishii are an easy 1, 2, 3 for me. I'm probably going to vote for Hayabusa next year as well. I can see that because I'm really big on influence. I'm really big on that. I like to think, and I spoke about this before, that all three categories are equal. And it's just funny how when you listen to people talk, especially historians, they talk about drawing records as in that's the most important category. But, by definition, you're not supposed to take one category over the other that has more weight.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just kind of how a lot of historians and old school kind of minds kind of look at it. Well, and that really gets me to think about also the AJW women, such as Manami Toyota and Toshi Yamada, where I really like them as a tag team. I really like their rivalry together, and I'm just about to watch another famous AJW show in '93 in which they're pitted against each other in the main event for an All-Pacific title match above the main title and tag titles in the Interpromotional War. So even in the time, they were pitted on the card higher than the rest. And I think that does have some weight to it. As I go through the historical knowledge of these years, I'm just very curious to see if this continues past a couple years with the team. As at first I thought they had no case, but the more I go into it, the more I'm kind of leaning in a positive direction towards it. Let's see. Does that cover... let's see. I know there was a controversy of CM Punk not getting in, but hey, I voted for him, and I don't like the guy. So what's the controversy? Not enough people voted for him. Not, it's just the way people look at it. But overall, I'm pretty damn happy with the way the Hall of Fame vote turned out this year. It always brings about interesting conversations with people, and then there's other controversies as well that have come out between end of quarter results between promotions and companies such as Cyberfight. Reported they're about $5 million USD in the red for the wrestling promotion, like all the companies combined between DDT, Noah, and TJPW. And it's a publicly traded company, so legally they publish their results for people like you and me to kind of look at it, and much smarter financial, knowledgeable people are going to go deeper into these numbers than what they look like on the surface. But to people like you and me, I'm a geological engineer over here. I work at a chemical plant. Supervisor, by the way, new promotion. Haha.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. I see the number, and it's always kind of what I'm looking at with Cyberfight. Going, how does this promotion make money? What are they investing in? Are they investing? Are they investing in talent? Well, okay, so they signed Keiji Muto for a few years, but that's a number of years in the making. So I don't think they're not quite losing money on just a singular contract for a wrestler. I mean, they could, but then at the start, that implies that signing said wrestler should put them in the green to have it pay off. So if we look at it that way, that's a failure. They have clearly invested a different animal into Wrestle Universe, the streaming service, but there's no evidence that the subscriber count has increased to the point where they've made their money back. And there's no guarantee that the streaming service is going to be around for 2, 3, 4, 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already seen the results of the WWE Network. That was around for like a decade, and it never made money. Or it never made money to the extent that they thought it deemed worthy to be profitable enough to keep it running. So they sold the rights to Peacock, and here we are. People tend to react and defend and be naive to facts and stats that disagree with kind of their favorite thing.
Sure.
What does it ultimately mean? To me, it means it's the second year in a row that Cyberfight has lost money. They've doubled their losses this year compared to last.
Oof.
If they're truly investing into properties and tactics and strategies that are to make them money, we better start seeing these results soon. What I'm saying.
If we don't see results, what's going to happen?
Well, if I'm just taking a guess over my, just based on my lack of knowledge, but my knowledge and just finances and just running books and looking at numbers myself, it would be the inevitable result of the WWE Network, where they shut it down. It's not deemed feasible to keep running, and you lose the streaming service essentially overnight. They just kind of announce, well, it's not working, it's not going, then how do we watch this promotion without going to the shows?
Yeah.
Do they go to a pay-per-view model in time instead? Much like so a big criticism of the promotion Stardom is they run too many pay-per-views and their service is archaic. But my counter argument to that is, well, we pay, $10 a month, however strong the yen is. The pay-per-views will go on there eventually, within a week, basically.
Sure.
You're still getting everything the service provides on the delay, and if you want to be in the live audience, then you buy the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view creates revenue. All the streaming services is you pay for an archive.
Right. And that's what it sounds like the Ring of Honor, new Honor Club, or the Revival of Honor Club is going to be.
That is why I bring a lot of this up, because this is, I guess we'll just transition into, this is going to be a shorter podcast for sure. We got Ring of Honor Final Battle.
We always say that. Let's see how we do.
But, and a couple AEW matches. But I think the biggest news and why I'm discussing a lot of statistics and finances is a Ring of Honor TV deal was not made. And Tony Khan was very deterrent on that news on purpose. And honestly, it's up to the wrestling media, the wrestling journalists, the wrestling reporters to ask him these questions, and it wasn't done. Nothing was done. Tony Khan essentially just said, we don't have a TV deal. We're starting up Honor Club again. Here's your archive. It's going to be cool to preserve the history. We might have weekly television on Honor Club. I think that's their goal right now. But you can't tell me this was the goal. He'll tell you that this is the goal the whole time. Right? Is to run a weekly...
There's no way. The goal was television. Yeah.
The goal's television. That's where the money is. That's where the exposure is.
Right.
He
also said that similar to what you were just saying, the pay-per-views will still be pay-per-views, but they will go up on Honor Club, I think something like 60 or 90 days
right, and
after or something.
That's very similar to what Bushiroad does and Stardom does with their service.
Yep.
This is how you make money. This is the money model if you're going to run a service like this. And honestly, looking at the positive to this, if Honor Club's a streaming service, and I think it was announced that New Japan Strong is going to be involved with Honor Club, rather than the Fight TV. Yeah. Rather than the Fight TV model and on New Japan World, it's going to be in conjunction with Honor Club. And the other thing
I definitely prefer it over Fight. I'm surprised they're not keeping it on New Japan, but I guess it makes sense if the operation is in the US to have it on the Ring of Honor service. And if they're working as closely with New Japan as we think they are, yeah.
The other positive I'll take away from it, the negative is right there in front of us. No TV deal struck, no money. A lot of the investments can't be made now. And look, when they start running Ring of Honor pay-per-views, guess what? It's going to come on TV again. It's going to be on Dynamite. It's going to be on Rampage, because they got to promote it some way. And that's where your biggest audience is. The positive I'm going to take away is they're still, to my knowledge, doing the weekly television for Ring of Honor. So a lot of the talent is going to get work, and they can extend storylines and do something with a lot of the wrestlers we don't get to see. So that's cool. The other aspect is Honor Club now has kind of carte blanche on whatever they want to do. It is AEW service. It's Tony Khan's service. So if they want to do, they already rent out Universal for Dark. Right?
Yep.
They've trademarked All Elite Women. They could do an All Elite Women show on Honor Club. basically no extra cost. Just run it for an hour, do a bunch of tapings, and that'll get these women a lot of work that they desperately need in training for TV and in the ring.
I don't hate that.
It's a lot of aspects that AEW needs, developmental or not. They they need this in order to grow their wrestlers. It's not just their audience. I think the audience that wants Honor Club is going to get it regardless. They're going to sign up for it. Is there going to be 100,000 subscribers for Honor Club? I don't think so. Is there even going to be 25? I don't know. Probably not.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to gauge what the interest is in just Ring of Honor right now. But if you look at that show from Final Battle, that was kind of a Ring of Honor crowd. That was there.
Absolutely.
They were involved with the storylines. They knew all the wrestlers, even the wrestlers that weren't frequented on AEW. They knew these stories. This felt like a Ring of Honor crowd. Could Ring of Honor cultivate a separate audience than AEW? Could it be a lot of the audience that have just tried out AEW the last couple of years and kind of fallen out because of the pandemic or booking, or maybe their favorite wrestlers aren't being pushed and featured? But could they be featured in Ring of Honor and be pushed that way? That'll cultivate a different audience and a different pay-per-view buying audience. It's interesting to me. Okay.
I don't know how you cultivate an audience without television.
That's why when it comes pay-per-view time, they will probably be on television.
Makes sense.
So before we go into Final Battle, I got Dynamite from November 30th up here. Let's see. Best of match 3, best of 7, Elite defeat Death Triangle. The Matt Jackson roll up. His legacy is saved. Ricky.
Yeah.
Another awesome match.
Yeah. They don't disappoint.
I thought it was the weakest of the 3 so far, though. The bar's certainly high.
I'm trying. This is the one that started with the Elite attacking Death Triangle on the ramp, right? During their entrance. They attacked them.
Wasn't that in Chicago?
I don't know.
Been a couple weeks.
Don't remember.
It was the same show with Bryan Danielson against Dax Harwood, which was a solid match. Oh, what do you think on AR Fox being on AEW and Ring of Honor?
Okay. Didn't know a lot about him before.
Have you never seen Lucha Underground?
I've seen Lucha Underground. But I've seen like 3 episodes. I started it from the beginning one day, and then I never continued with it.
Oh, you should do that.
So, start Lucha Underground from the beginning.
Well, start from like episode 4 now.
It's on my server. Do you have access to my server? You do not. I have to get you access to my server. I don't think you do. Whatever. We can talk about that offline.
All right.
I wasn't super familiar with him. He did impress me in the few AW matches he had before Ring of Honor. Oh, and then last weekend, I randomly turned on IWTV, even though nothing was on live. I was just like, let's see what's up here. Some Midwest promotion. It's with a D. I don't remember, but based in Chicago. Dreamwave, something like that. They had recently uploaded a bunch of their shows from 2016. I didn't start watching wrestling till 2017, so I was intrigued. So I turned on one of their shows, and it had Jeff Cobb, AR Fox, Cody Rhodes, bunch of other people. It was fun. It was really fun to see how these people have progressed, where they are now. And AR Fox faced Cody in this on the show that I watched, the first show that I watched. He impressed the fuck out of me in this 2016 match, and Cody won, but then put AR Fox over after the match, saying, this guy is a star. He's gonna be on TV. He's gonna be at WrestleManias. Which obviously he signed with AEW, and it also took him 6 more years to do so. But I'm happy to see him have a level of success.
You know what? You bring this up, and this is a topic I always argue with people about. This whole concept of a wrestler loses a match, and then the other guy, who's the actual star, raises their hand and goes, you know what? This is the guy. Watch for him. But, as we see, it doesn't happen. They don't actually put them over. It's such like a rinse repeat process that I just kind of roll my eyes at. And I go, well, no, how about you make a program and you lose to the person on your way out? That kind of but
I'm double checking. I mean, it feels like that's what would have happened, but now I'm double checking.
Yeah. Okay.
See.
So, what do you think of Samoa Joe's last couple weeks? Because he faced AR Fox, he demoralized Darby Allin, and then he beat Juice Robinson at Final Battle.
I loved his Darby Allin match.
That was so good. What a beating. Hey, Darby, I have an idea for a match. What do you think? Whoa, hold on, Joe. Here's my idea. Beat me up real bad.
Great. We're on the same page.
I can do that.
Terrific.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Well, yeah, I loved that match. And Joe, that was the first match since Joe returned that I thought he looked like Joe.
I thought so too. I think as much as I like AR Fox, there was something missing in that match, like from a presence perspective of the two people.
Mm-hmm.
Like Joe just has his natural presence and demeanor in the ring, but AR Fox, he has the issue which I'll just throw my short Dragongate review because I watched Fantastic Gate, which had a fantastic main event. What's missing in Dragongate right now are all these young guys learning how to have presence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of young, talented guys in ring, but they lack the charisma and the ring awareness to be a wrestler. Like when I look at Samoa Joe, he's a wrestler. He's gonna kick your ass. He's gonna beat you bloody. He wants to win. And there you go. And then I'm watching the Dragongate Fantastic Gate show, and Shingo Takagi shows up, and it's like, there's the wrestler. There's the actual guy we should pay attention to. And then here comes Hip Hop Kakuta, whom I love, by the way, and he's like, he's going to be in this match. He goes, oh, well, thank you, Shingo. You are my senpai. You are just way better than me. No. Would it kill someone to go, you know what? You left this promotion. I'm 22. I'm going to prove that, I'm the guy who stayed and who's going to be here for years while you're just going to fuck off back to New... where is this? Because Stardom, what happens in Stardom is there's a lot of wrestlers that just go and wrestle for the in-ring, but every once in a while, you catch people coming out of their shell and having persona, having the wrestler attitude. Tam Nakano is a great example where, yes, she's quirky and she has her own thing, but she makes stories. She makes the investment into her. Julia is another person. When I'm watching the Dragongate shows, I'm just watching guys in ring. And that's not enough to be a wrestler. Yuki Yoshioka and Masaki Mochizuki had this fantastic fucking main event. But you know what the big takeaway of the match was? It was Masaki Mochizuki, the 52-year-old, who's a wrestler. He counters a frog splash with his knees up, and then he just punches the dude in the face while he's on his back. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's what I need. And I'm like, that's what this fucking guy is missing, Yuki Yoshioka. He's missing shit that. He's missing coming to the ring and just being the guy. And that's what Dragongate's missing to me right now. As much as I love their matches, like the match that sticks out to me the most in Dragongate is the one I didn't think I'd like the most, and that's when Kai made fun of a dude retiring, and his friend had to watch on in the match, and he tried to egg him on. Like it's all things that you invest into, and then the in-ring goes on top of it. So when I listen to a lot of these old hats and these fools talk about like modern wrestling isn't like the old days, the only thing I can like agree with them with is the presence of wrestlers. And to me, that's not taught. That's like learned. And a wrestler, and it takes a long time for a wrestler to figure that out. And when I'm watching these Samoa Joe matches, and even the Darby Allin match, like Darby Allin in there, compared to AR Fox and Juice Robinson, Darby Allin knows who he is. He comes to the ring, he's got his persona, he knows what he needs to do to be Darby Allin.
Yep.
When I watch Juice Robinson, he says he's rock hard, he seems a bit flaccid to me, is what I'm saying.
I miss 2019 Juice. I was so into Juice Robinson for such a long time. I saw Juice in 2019, saw him live, popped huge for him. Yeah, some things, I mean, again, we could, factor in the New Japan clap crowds and whatever else, but he's been here too. He's been wrestling on Strong, right? So I don't know. He lost something.
I think he's lost a lot. He's lost the focus. I think he's lost the focus on he needs a permanent home to get reacclimated, I think is a big thing. And that's something to be said for a lot of wrestlers, especially in AEW and ROH.
Sorry.
What was that?
Something just randomly played on my phone. I think it was Peyton Manning.
Oh, Peyton Manning? What are you watching, like an Allstate commercial or something? No, it would be State Farm.
I think it was a commercial. I think it was Peyton Manning.
Are you sure it's not Brett Favre?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
Let's see. The Acclaimed defeat FTR, retain the AEW tag titles. So here's the thing. I like the match. And yes, I am watching AEW kind of full-time again. I'm back. It only took a few weeks, but
I knew you'd be back.
I'd be back. I can't stay away.
I knew you'd be back.
I was mad for a while there. I think it was a full month and a half, wasn't it?
It was maybe a month.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not crazy about Double J going for the tag titles, but
I know.
He's been missing the last couple weeks, so I'm like, okay, all right, I'll come back, give it a try. When I was done watching Acclaimed FTR, and there wasn't a match announced for Final Battle.
Yeah.
In my head, I went, oh, the Acclaim versus FTR for the Ring of Honor titles, a rematch.
Okay, so before the match, I was wondering why this match wasn't on Final Battle.
Right?
So then I get into my head and I do some fantasy booking, and the only shit that I could come up with was WWE garbage, where like the match doesn't come to a finish, and then like they wrestle like half a match, right? And then it gets interrupted or somebody intervenes and it ends in a DQ. Like this is how WWE would book it. And then they would do it.
That is absolutely something they do. Yeah.
And then they would do it on pay-per-view. So I had the same thought that they were going to just run it back. Then I was like, that's garbage booking.
Well, I liked the fact that they beat them with kind of the roll-up and it was clean and it was a great match. That got me wanting to watch the second one, because now the Acclaimed have a, claim at the Ring of Honor title because they beat the champions. I was like, that makes sense. And before I was going into it going, Well, they could do something like a bloody double countout, some old school finish, because that sounds like something Tony Khan would do, maybe. Some 1980s NWA thing, or a double knockout situation. Something where it's not a DQ, something unique. And I was like, oh, he pinned him clean, more or less. That'll lead to final. And then to see kind of not even the Briscoes, it was the Ass Boys with a letter that's like, you're going to do a double dog collar. And I just kind of looked at it going, okay, that's a interesting stipulation. We just saw a dog collar match this year. What? I was like, I get that it's a rubber match. Well, not even a rubber, because FTR
not
won
even
the
a
first
rubber
two.
match. That was what confused me too. Why do you need a trilogy when FTR won the first two? Granted, the rivalry is there, and it was for the titles, I guess, and so the stipulation made it. I'm not saying. I mean, the match was fantastic, and I'm so happy it happened. But it did. I was confused when it was announced.
Yeah, and it sold like almost 1,000 tickets after that match was announced. So it did work. It did work. I'm just
I know
wondering.
Of at least 3 people who bought tickets to Final Battle after that match was announced.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Like, you had Rampage, you had a few days leading up to it. You could have teased the Briscoes were coming after FTR. You remember the 2 out of 3 Falls match build where they were doing things on YouTube, they were doing things on Twitter, they were doing something to at least tease and build to the match, and that, like, even I went to that match.
Wow.
And the match felt so cold to me going in, along with a lot of the matches on pay-per-view. The Ring of Honor show itself, I watched the next day at night. I was definitely happy with the pay-per-view, at least from the in-ring perspective, but every single match on that show, with the exception of Jericho and Casanoli, fell cold. The difference between Jericho Casanoli was that's just been going on for so long, I was kind of tired of it. So that's a different thing.
Okay.
That was a different issue. So, again, I enjoyed the Ring of Honor show from the wrestling in-ring perspective, but my investment level in how much I truly cared about the show was severely lacking. And that's something to be said about Tony Khan's booking over the last few months. And did you listen to that media call, by the way?
I didn't.
So Tony Khan talked about his mother almost dying a couple times via stroke. He was distracted with that. Then there was Regal calling him, which is very skeptish, by the way, with wanting to go back to WWE. And I don't know, with the way wrestling is and the way people are, like, I don't really trust people. That seems like interesting timing to take advantage of somebody, or to bring it up.
Yeah.
Especially in the middle of that. I'm not saying it's true that he did that. I'm just skeptical of it. It raises my eyebrows. So there was a lot of things going through him, TK, at the time over the last few months. It also makes me think, okay, you can like delegate some things to people. Just if you got to take a break, dude. Like, lay out a little outline and give someone else a shot. And who knows? It could work out. It couldn't. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. There is such thing as overwork, and I think the guy's kind of toting that line pretty heavily these days.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. He's doing way too much. Like, the amount of work it takes to do any one of his jobs for Fulham, for the Jaguars, for AEW. I mean, they're all full-time jobs, and he's doing all of them.
Yeah. All right. Final Battle, 0 Hour. Do you have any thoughts? We got Jeff Cobb Dorada, 7 minutes. 2.0 against Shinobi's Shadow Squad, 6 minutes. Willow Nightingale defeats Trish Adora, 6 minutes. Top Flight defeats The Kingdom, 11 minutes.
I really enjoyed 0 Hour. I thought all of the matches did their jobs as far as getting me to want to watch the rest of the show.
Mhm.
The pop for Willow was incredible. People love Willow. It's infectious, right? She's the babe with the power. She's the babe with the big hair and the bigger smile. What else does Rich Palladino say about her? I don't remember, but yeah, that was fantastic. And I thought the match was very good. Her versus Trish.
Yeah, almost a 1 out of 3. Almost. Okay, can you hear that? Can you hear this at all?
So. I don't think I'm hearing
that is my 1938 boiler in the background, if you can hear it in the audio.
Okay.
So this is a big test.
I can't hear it.
It's a big test for the microphone.
I cannot hear it, but I also have had a ringing in my ear for like 3 months that hasn't gone away. So
okay.
I think I have tinnitus now, which is super fun.
My match of the 0 Hour was Cobb Dorada. I thought that was solid as hell. Nice little TV match. I went 1 out of 3 on that one. Top Flight Kingdom. Even though I didn't like it as much, I thought it was the better match. I went 2 out of 3 there. The Kingdom as a lower level tag team that can put on a good match and put other guys over. I like that spot for them.
I was surprised they lost.
I
thought Kingdom was going to win that match. What?
I think they should have lost. I like Top Flight way more.
I do too, but I thought that since Kingdom is the Ring of Honor team and new to AW audiences, I don't know. I thought the Kingdom were going to win.
I think there was a missed opportunity for the big Eddie Kingston-like promo to put the pay-per-view over.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that after Full Gear. He should just, or someone should grab a microphone, tell the pay-per-view. Someone not on commentary, one of the talent.
Yes.
One of the wrestlers, yeah.
I thought that was missing.
Could have been good.
Significantly. And it gives someone a big important promo time to end the 0 Hour
Yeah, I guess Maria could have done it.
She was kind of booted out, but I mean, honestly, the person that kind of came to my mind was Willow Nightingale. You want to because if you want to get like a big baby face over, give them the win before 0 Hour ends. They get on the mic and say, "Hey, this is great. Thanks for coming. Buy the pay-per-view." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we already talked about AR Fox, but AR Fox Blake Christian defeats LFI via kind of a messed up little
shenanigans.
Botch. Yeah, a little shenanigans. Then LFI beat the hell out of him with chairs. I thought that made up the finish.
Yeah, I'm still confused on this one, and I know there's like a storyline suspension now. I don't know if that was planned in advance or whether that's to make up for the bad finish. So I'm a little confused, but
yeah, who knows? Athena defeats Mercedes Martinez 13 minutes. I thought this was great. I went 2 out of 3. I thought they showed a lot of fire. This is the best Mercedes. I would say the Serena Deeb match.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the better women's matches in the second half of the year here for, I think, Western women's wrestling. Very solid. Very solid.
It was super solid. I felt from the beginning that Athena was going to win. So with the I was going to say with the heel turn, but she wrestled babyface and Mercedes wrestled situational heel here. I mean, sort of. But the crowd was fully behind Athena, and I think it's because we didn't necessarily want her to turn heel. We just needed her to have some direction and some character. And now she has it, and so now the crowd is behind her. So the crowd was really happy to see her win. She got emotional and was trying to hide it a little bit because her character is a heel, and so she was trying to maintain composure, but you could see her getting really emotional over that win. And I think her parents were there, like they showed her parents in the crowd, and yeah, that was good.
This was it was my second favorite match on the show, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Swerve in Our Glory against Shane Taylor Promotions. I didn't know who JD Griffey even was going into this match, like, at all. I even tried Googling him and looking some stuff up. I was like, oh, I can't. Okay, he wrestles in Texas, I guess. But continued the Swerve Keith Lee storyline here. Thought it did its job.
I did predict that it would end as the previous match did, but in reverse, where Swerve would walk out on Keith, and that's sure enough what happened. Although Keith did end up getting the win. So that was interesting. But yeah, I'm assuming we're going to see Swerve versus Lee at Revolution.
I kind of hope they just do that in January.
Maybe.
On TV.
Maybe.
I'm really tired of a lot of these storylines getting pushed back and back and back the way they do.
Yeah.
In AEW.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. Embassy defeats Dalton Castle and the Boys, new trios champions. I think we can move on from there. Yuta defeats Garcia for the Pure title. I usually don't like Pure title matches, but from what I've seen over these two in AEW/ROH, these two got it down. They know what they're doing with this. This was good.
This was the best Pure match I've seen, and not that I've watched a ton of them, but I agree because Garcia at one point, a couple pay-per-views ago, gave a promo about the Pure title. He's like, oh great, just what wrestling needs is like more rules. Like, this is so stupid.
Yeah,
why
exactly.
does this exist? And I was like, you're right, why does this exist? Yeah, I mean, these two, I mean, we've watched them go at it since the indies. We watched, their 60-minute Iron Man match at IWTV 100, and they just know how to do it, huh? And they're just going to be career-long rivals, I guess. Like that. This is it. We're going to watch these two wrestle for the next 20 years. And I'm okay with it.
Briscoes defeat FTR, double dog collar match, 22 minutes, 20 seconds. Look, despite my reservations and the criticisms over the lack of build/none, they went out there and had a hell of a match. I really liked the Dax Harwood, Jay Briscoe combination, because it was so obvious to me that when they attached the two wrestlers together with Jay and Dax, the higher end wrestlers of the teams, that they were going to be the stars of the show, and Jay and Dax just absolutely killed each other. And then when it came to big spots at the right times, Mark and Cash delivered as well. I mean, there's that one spot that really sticks out in my head. I mean, there was like nonsense of chairs and ripping each other apart. It's the one where Cash rips Mark off the top by pulling the chain, and he goes to the floor onto a bunch of chairs. My God.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So Mark was on the top rope, right? There's a pile of chairs outside the ring. And Cash just heaves him. It looked devastating. There was another spot where the chain became a factor. Now I'm trying to remember who was on the outside. One of FTR was on the outside of the ring, and one of the Briscoes was. That's what I thought too. Yeah. I didn't want to misspeak, but yeah. So Mark went to kind of like save his brother on the other side of the ring, forgetting that he was chained up, and Cash yoinks him real hard. And yeah, dog collars, man. I hope we don't continue to overuse them, but it worked here.
Yeah, I think with the match being as good as it was, they got away with it. The dog collar match has become an AEW staple, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yes. Sparingly. Once a year, like
an annual big match, I think is good. And I guess the Punk MJF one was back in February, March. So this one, this one to take place in December. I guess that's enough time. Yeah. Talked about Joe Robinson, and then Casanoli beats Chris Jericho. Solid match, 17 minutes. I went 2 out of 3. What do you think of the submission via big swing?
I loved it.
Very unique, eh?
Unique, shocking. We didn't know what happened. I think Jason had looked away during the swing. He's like, okay, this has gone on long enough. And then the bell rang, and he's like, wait, what? And I was like, he tapped. Jericho tapped. Like, he tapped to the swing. Now, this wouldn't have worked 3 minutes into the match.
No.
But 17 minutes after getting the crap kicked out of him for 17 minutes or 16 and a half minutes because he swung around for 30 seconds. Yeah, makes sense. Great stuff.
Yeah, that kind of goes into what they're doing with Claudio Castagnoli lately is on Dynamite just that week, he beat Jake Hager with an uppercut.
Yeah.
Like a European uppercut and just pinned him. So whatever they're doing to book Castagnoli as just this killer where he can win with all these different moves, I think is really cool. And if they can do that with a lot of different wrestlers, I think that'll make the matches that much more exciting.
Yeah.
Just every once in a while they win a match with just some like move out of nowhere that seems like a transition move or some spot move.
Yep. Or yes, absolutely. I do want to see a couple more random match finishes on Dynamite that happen in the picture-in-picture. We've only seen one so far that I can recall. It was an Orange Cassidy match where it ended in picture-in-picture. But I want more things like that to surprise. I want more titles to switch hands on the Jericho Cruise. I want more titles to switch hands on TV in general. But just like when you think you know what's going to happen. And yeah. Love it.
Yeah, so they're building to Ricky Starks MJF. Ricky Starks won the Battle Royal, which I thought was cool. They're doing the double ring and title situation, which I'm good with that. Gives the match a little bit more stank on it. Ricky Starks cut a great promo. And I like
what a promo. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Very good.
That promo.
I think it'd be smart. I mean, there's nothing wrong, I would say, with MJF just beating him. Okay? The follow-up needs to be there. Ricky Starks going for Wardlow or Samoa Joe immediately, I think is necessary.
Yes.
Or you do something really strange, and I'm really into like the old school booking finishes of things like blood stoppage. I actually watched it on WCW 99, believe it or not, where it was Goldberg versus Sid Vicious, and they just beat the shit out of each other, and the ref called the match when Sid was bleeding too much. And with the amount of blood that AEW has, that would be interesting if Ricky Starks bleeds in the match via like a ring shot, but he doesn't give up, and then he's just protruding blood, and the ref stops it. So Ricky doesn't, like, he technically loses, but it's not of his own volition.
Okay.
And he can come back for it's just an example, but it's an old school finish that I think would benefit.
Yeah. I don't hate that, except if Austin Rhodes bleeding at All Out or at Double or Nothing wasn't enough blood to stop a match, I can't imagine how much blood would be enough blood referee stop a match. That's kind of
you could always change. I mean, rules change in sports.
That's fair, and different. It could be a different officiant too, and official. Sorry, I said officiant. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, speaking of officials, Ring of Honor Final Battle was a bad day to be an in-ring official.
Oh man, yeah. Even the double dog collar match, the referee got clocked.
Poor Mike Posey.
He was blading. I was like, man.
Oh, poor Mike Posey.
I watched this pay-per-view on my 65-inch QLED TV in my finished basement with my couch and nice warm blanket and everything. I was a cozy camper.
Fancy boy.
Yeah, I was like, I had to back the couch up a little bit because I'm like, whoa, these dudes are big in my face.
I think they say your couch should be a foot away from the TV for every 8 inches of screen. So, or maybe for every foot of screen. So 65 inches, you should be 5.5 feet back.
Okay. I think I'm 5.5 feet back.
Yeah.
I think I am
something
now.
like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Ricky.
Yeah.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, we'll be in the same place. And we can have this conversation face to face.
I will see you at Wrestival.
See you then.
Okay, everybody, it is time for the Joshi wrestling section of this podcast, and I gotta say, it's gonna be pretty short and sweet. Not only do I just simply not have much to say over the topics at hand, the wrestling has been, I would say, lackluster in one form or another, whether it's building, whether it's crowd reaction, and whether it's just kind of the results of what's going on. So I might be able to cut this down into 10 minutes, and then boom, we're out of here, because these thoughts are going to be short and concise. We'll start off with the big news, and that is Sasha Banks is going to be at the Tokyo Dome. We can assume that, I would say, barring a last-minute WWE big money deal, she will be doing some various Chris Jericho-like New Japan dates, and hopefully this ends in her putting someone over big. If it was up to me, I've kind of put this out there, where I would simply have her challenge Kairi at the big Yokohama show in January, after the Kairi Tam Nakano match at Kingdom, and she wins. And that leads to a big double title match against presumably Julia as Red Belt champion and her as the IWGP Women's Champion. And they could do a pretty rad double title match that ends in some old school cool ass finish, whether that's like a double blood stoppage kind of deal, double knockout outside the ring, something that can lead to both of them being very strong. I really got kind of a Hokuto Kandori type booking in my head. Now, if they can do like a second match where someone big goes over, that would be pretty cool to do as well. Now the business reasons behind Sasha Banks, I've said in the past on this podcast that she has the potential to be the Chris Jericho-like impact that he had with New Japan that Banks could have with Stardom. But considering that this is more of a New Japan / Bushi Road type maneuver here, and the fact that they're going to have to pay her even more money than Jericho. Now, of course, we can just say, hey, money's changed in the last 5 years. That's very obvious. Just look at every sport. Just look at this MLB offseason in general with these 13-year contracts, $300+ million. Money's bigger. That's just the simple way to put it. So, of course, to me, it doesn't surprise me that Banks would get a bigger check than Jericho. And with it is such a rarity of a woman wrestler of her stature and her prestige kind of at that pedestal to be available. The rarity also bumps that price up as well. So I don't have a problem with the move if you got the money to spend. What was interesting was as soon as she was deemed available, the Hat Man over there called her up, said, "Hey, what's going on, girl?" And she went, "Here's my price." And he goes, "Whoa, I'm not made of money, although I have a lot of it, but that's over budget. Can't do it." And it was up to Kidani. He kind of took the step and went, "You know what? Let's burn some of this money, give it a shot. It's worth a try," to him. And I don't disagree with the move, even if the money's available. It's just from a business perspective, it's tough. It's kind of tough to see what kind of impact Banks is actually going to have on a domestic Japanese audience. We know that she has a large fan base, but the question is, will they follow her to a promotion like New Japan and Stardom? That remains to be seen. I'm not very hyped up on that prospect, but as a fan of Joshi wrestling and women's wrestling, I'm very hyped to see what Sasha Banks can do out of the Fed. It's as simple as that. I'm very hyped for that. I think a lot of people are. The prospect of her wrestling finally fresh opponents is very exciting. So I may question the business dealings of it all, but as a fan, and that's kind of the top of the news there. In kind of quick other news, Wave is still going about its business with Sheeta as champion. Nothing really on the horizon there. Then we had, because we had Takumi Iroha go down with injury and she relinquished the AAAW title, there was the tournament, and as I said on a previous podcast, Chikao Nagashima was kind of the easy choice, knowing Joshi's past and how they book. Because why would you want to book a new star to do something big and try to get someone over in the promotion to the level? But hey, they went with the person who was going to retire at some point during COVID. And look, I like Chikao Nagashima. I cover her on the Joshi 2010s over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Redleaf Retrocast, where I love watching Chikao Nagashima matches. But this is 2022. Marvelous is a promotion with like 4 people in it. And one of them is Mio Momono, and the other is Rin Kadokura, and then a third is Maria. Any one of these 3 people could be elevated to a main event level, but they took the wacky old school. I don't even want to say old school, and I don't even want to call it safe. It's just a boring old Joshi vet move. And it really just continues to expose what promotions like Marvelous, Sendai, and company, the lack of booking and moving forward just is, it astounds me over and over again. And the first challenger was Queen Aminata. I'm a big Queen Aminata fan. If you read the monthly articles of top women's wrestlers outside Japan that I also post on the Patreon, Queen Aminata is a top 25 available free agents outside of a main company. I really like her. She's really propped up to the top 10, 15 of the list over the course of the year. So I'm not against her getting the title shot exactly, the first against Chikao Nagashima. It's just, I shake my head again. It's why can't we get someone domestic in there that's part of your promotion that could use the opportunity of a big title match. Speaking of that, Sendai, Chihiro Hashimoto's, and I won't even call it historic. She had like 4 defenses in like 3 years. None of them drew any money. Not to mention that most of them during COVID. But she had 2 matches against Takumi Iroha. Nothing happened there. She had 1 match against Veni from July, which I enjoyed. It was a good match. And then here sets up a rematch for their quote-unquote big show that, for all intents and purposes, drew under 500 people. Cold-ass crowd. They could cheer, and this was cold as ice. Veni was not a hot challenger. Veni, while I've enjoyed her wrestling over the last couple of years, this is a very uninspiring move. The match was good in ring. I actually thought the in-ring portion was better than their first match, but the lack of heat in this and the lack of just interest. I mean, if you go to cage match, I know that's a loose barometer of interest, but their match from July has over 50 votes. And this one, last time I checked, has 1. And that kind of shows just the lack of interest in this rematch that there was, at least from an international perspective. And then just the overall reaction in the crowd when you saw the pin. This was not a historical reign-ending victory for Veni to get someone over to be at the main event level of the promotion. And if you need more proof, look to their next show where Veni was in the semi-main, and Chihiro Hashimoto was in a handicap match in the main event against Unagi. Not to mention when Chihiro Hashimoto came out and she had the biggest boo-boo face you've ever seen in your life, just depressed that she was booked to lose this title finally. Sasha Banks would tell this woman to calm down. Like, what a giveaway. Regardless, the match was very good. I went 2 out of 3 recommendation on it. The lack of heat and interest really hurt it for me. Probably it's a 3 out of 3 in a lot of people's books, but it won't be making any top 10 end of the year lists, and neither will that match in July either. We move on to Stardom, as we have the card for Queendom. And it's turned into a storyline that they're kind of culminating of the quote-unquote invaders / indie workers challenging all of the Stardom champions, with the exception of the Red Belt match, to kind of gimmick matches across the card. I'll get to the tag league result in a second, but they changed the artist title match to Against Prominence is now a hardcore match. And we've seen how those matches go. It's plunder that delves into comedy, and they're generally bad. So very disappointed there. Haruka Umasaki came out and challenged Saya Kamatani. And I'm a big Haruka Umasaki fan, but she has done nothing in this promotion. She has done nothing really anywhere else. She has one real title match in her entire career, and that was against Suzu Suzuki. A good match, by the way, but not at a high level. There's no guarantee this match is going to be at a high level that's worthy of being on a big year-end closing show that Queendom is. The vibe of the kind of feedback and how this feels to at least the fan base that I'm engaged with, overall, it's like, okay, the matches should be good, but when you have a roster that Stardom has, and this is arguably their second biggest show of the year, maybe their second or third largest attendance of the year that this is going to be. For all these spots to be taken up by people not affiliated with the promotion, it just runs sour in my mouth to what that's going to be. And there's no guarantee any of these matches are going to be any good either. Now, if it was a tag title match of Maihime against Meltier, or Mirai getting another crack in the semi-main for the white belt, and she possibly winning, there's a number of different options they could have gone, and to see a lot of prominent workers and people that have been getting pushed all year in Stardom to kind of be brushed to the side on the Dream Queendom show like this doesn't bode well. I'm very disappointed in the card. I'm very hyped for the main event. Don't get me wrong there, but the rest of the card is very sour. Hopefully the matches will deliver. And then I want to talk about Tag League. I watched most of Tag League, including the finals, and I did not have a single match that reached 3 out of 3 recommendation. That's a huge bummer for me. There was a lot that I enjoyed from kind of a general watching perspective with, for example, Shuri Inaba, My Hime, Meltier teams, the Black Desire team, FWC. A lot of good teams interacting with each other, but every single match seemed like they were holding back. Every single match seemed like the Tag League was rest time. And I get it. You can't go... It's very tough to go 100 miles an hour throughout the entire year. You got to slow down at some point. I think Tag League is not the time to do that when you're in prominent matches. And a lot of these shows were booked for tag matches that were 10 and sub 10 minutes. They didn't really reach any peak that I could come away going, hey, watch that match. It's good. And if I look at my little match guide here, which I'm pulling up in front of me, let's see. I don't even see a 2 out of 3 tag match until I got Gold Rush. I got, this pains me to say, but it's My Hime against Denai and You. And then after that, nothing. I got Utami and Sai Kamatani against Shuri and Inaba at a 2 out of 3. And then from the Tag League final, I have Meltier against Utami and Sai Kamatani, 2 out of 3, and FWC against My Hime at 2 out of 3. And those are kind of your top matches of the tournament, besides the Black Desire Karate Brave match from the very first night. Those are your kind of top 3 matches. So what it came down to, and I really questioned this, was the booking of Tora and Ruaka as kind of this power team coming up, and they just do not have the presence to be pushed like that, even if it's at a mediocre level to kind of compete against the Yu Nanai team on the last night. I never bought into the team. It is very hard for me to buy into any of the work they do because it's not exciting. First of all, the wrestling's not exciting. Their booking's not exciting. I really do not enjoy watching that team. So for it to come down to that team versus Nanai and Yu, and they're just kind of running into each other a lot, not a lot of selling, and if they were selling, it was generally pretty poor, I feel. I none of those workers are indicative of selling. So that's very hard for me to get into, and my fandom of that. And then for the finals to come down to Sai Kamatani and Utami gunning for a back-to-back match, and them just to be put away the way they were by Nanai and Yu in a very typical Nanai tag match fashion. It doesn't get my socks off. It doesn't rock my socks. I'm left largely disappointed coming out of Tag League into a tournament I was very hyped going into. Can't say I'm excited for Nanai and Yu. I mean, if you've listened to this podcast, I will give credit here. Here it is. Yu as a tag wrestler is totally fine and passable. She chops people, she runs into them, she does some press slams. She's a good tag wrestler. I have no use for her in any singles match capacity. The issue with this Nanai Yu team is very much the format that I do not like about Nanai and kind of her generation tag matches, where the veteran will finish a match for 90% of the second half. They might get a last-minute tag, and the other person comes in and puts them away. Very much indicative of how you wrestled throughout this tournament. And if there was any sort of fall that they were going to take, they only took one, by the way, in a roll-up, you never see the veteran sell. So it's either they get all the shine or they're a ghost in the match. And I really do not like that. And that's an aspect of kind of those mid-2000s, early 2010s, those tag matches, with the exception of, I would say, the tag team of Ran Yu and Toshimatsu. They don't generally do that. They work into a lot of tandem moves, and a lot of these teams really didn't do that. It focused more on the singular aspect, which is to highlight the most selfish person in the match. And I guess that does it for the Joshi, really. I do not have much else to say other than that. And I guess we'll go into the, short AJW review. So let me pull up this little nugget of a drop, and we can get going right now. And it's AJW Destiny podcast time. That's what we're doing here. Episode 82. And I actually have to pull up my other laptop here because that's what we're doing. I got the cage match of this show up. And this was a strange one. So I thought the schedule was going to put us straight from Russell Marine Pied all the way straight to the Legacy of Queens card that happens at the end of November. But instead, the AJW Classics that we can find on the various Google Drives that a lot of people have shared, the Puro's Dream Google Drive in particular. But this episode has taken us into the middle of Tag League, day 26 to be exact, here in 1993. The November 12th card at Korakuen Hall to a sold-out capacity, according to Cage Match. Asterisk, 2,100 people. There was definitely less than that in this arena. I'd probably put it closer to maybe 1,500, maybe 16, if I'm being generous. But yeah, we got a full Korakuen Hall card, 5 matches, and they're all pretty straightforward, but they all went a while. And I would say this show is worth watching in its own capacity. And the big news is, just after and around this time, is AJW is about to also be running with LLPW at their anniversary show at the Kumazama Gym in Tokyo. And that's headlined by Akira Hokuto against Rumi Kazuma. Now, if you want to hear that review in particular for that show, that is over on the Patreon, patreon.com/redleafretrocast. The Jaguar Nagayo tier, where you can get all the LLPW reviews. And that is a show I highly recommend watching, following along, and understanding what that hair versus hair match meant and how beat up both wrestlers were, Hokuto and Kazuma, at the time. Kazuma has a busted back, dealing with injuries since the summer. And we know all about Hokuto's injuries in the back in this back half of 93, especially in the summer, where she also has a messed up back and a blown out knee, and she just got over surgery. That show is also notable because AJW played the heels for the first time, really, in the interpromotional war. And that's the show where Eagle Sawai got put over extremely strong in a 10-woman elimination tag match, and that was to build her up for the big up-and-coming Aja Kong singles match that we'll see at the Legacy of Queen show at the end of November here. Or Queendom. It's their Queendom. Boy, lots of misspeaking there. So, this Korakuen Hall show from All Japan Women, November 12th, 1993, starts out with Chikako Shiratori and Miki Yokoe defeating the Kumiko Meikawa and Yumi Fukawa team in 9 minutes. What I gotta say here is, if a lot of those names don't ring a bell, it's because they didn't last a while. The notable part is Chikako Shiratori is now kind of in that Saki Hasegawa role where she is clearly above the rest in this little young rookie class type deal. And then Kumiko Meikawa has a lot of big, serious size to her, which gives us very interesting. And I do want to also point out the funny part of the dresses that these wrestlers come out with for entrance gear. And then they take off the full dress to reveal generally it's like a flowered Speedo with some design on it. But when you're a green as grass rookie making your debut like Miki Yokoe, you still got the Speedo symbol on. You look like you're closer to hitting the pool and doing a triple gainer off the diving board than going to do some grappling in the middle of a ring. Like Yumi Fukawa in this match was geek central, and she had 3 moves and she did it over and over again. The match is boring. With the exception of Shiratori getting in the ring every now and again and drop kicking people's faces off. And we move on, and I digress. LCO, Mita and Shimoda teaming with the Gardner Buckethead Numachi defeat whatever this team was. This was bizarre. Chaprito Asari, Kaori Ito, and Tomoko Watanabe. Went over 16 minutes. Way too long. But the point is, Mita and Shimoda are on a roll, and they're getting bigger, and Chaprito Asari's whole role is to get the Sky Twister press over, the crowd pops, and we move on. Tag League the best match, and that's what we finish out this Korakuen Hall show with. This is the last 3. They're all Tag League matches. Eagle Sawai and Yasha Kurenai, very fun team, taking on Bull Nakano and Suzuka Minami, so you're kind of mid to late 80s team here. Suzuka Minami really did well in this match, and it's kind of funny that Yasha Kurenai is just so out of her element with a lot of this. I did like the brawl in the pre-match, and to see Eagle Sawai be bigger and more profounding than Bull Nakano is pretty surreal, considering how just massive Bull Nakano was just a year ago. Comparatively, but Eagle Sawai was kind of in and out of this match a lot of the times. They kind of kept her away from Bull Nakano. Suzuki Minami's away from her grappling game, so it was a lot more speed here. It's a 13-minute match. Yasha Kurenai held up. There was a really fun spot where Kurenai got her kendo stick in there, the wooden sword, and then Bull Nakano ducks, has someone toss her the knucks, and she just hits the stick with the knucks, and they both kind of stare each other down. Good pop out of me there. It's good old school stuff. I'd go 1 out of 3 on this one. And I gotta say, these last 3 matches, better than Stardom's Tag League that they just had. Better than that. A lot of these matches, the last 2 matches in particular, banged hard. Absolutely loved them. A lot of interference and a lot of shenanigans, but a good match nonetheless. Kurenai and Sawai win. And that'll lead into Takako Inoue and Yumika Hota defeating Kyoko Inoue and Toshio Yamada. Kind of not the tandems that you expect there to be, but I tried searching in the Observer and other old magazines, but all I could find was Cage Match says the Observer gave it 4 stars this match. I mean, I agree that this and the next match are both 3 out of 3 recommendations. Got no problem with that rating there, but I couldn't find anything in the Observer over this show being covered at all. So who knows? Maybe I just read over it, missed it, or it's in a January article. Who knows? But I went through all of November and December and couldn't find anything over this show in particular. A lot of talk over just the interpromotional war and the best tactics being run, where AJW is working with these smaller promotions and trying to get them over periodically, and it's kind of up to the other promotions to kind of highlight who they want and kind of play a little politics on who can they beat. And what we're definitely seeing from LLPW, for example, is Eagle Sawai is getting a lot of the spotlight, but everyone else is cannon fodder. More talk on that on the Patreon with the LLPW section. And then for JWP, it's a lot of Dynamite Kansai and Mayumi Ozaki, and everyone else kind of fills out mid-card roles. Do recognize that JWP is booked a little stronger than LLPW throughout this journey. But back to this match. Yamada has an incredible tan. It's a next level type thing, while Kyoko Inoue looks very pale in comparison, even though she's got a tan. And when Takako Inoue is in this match, and she is putting in a lot of work, she's flying all around. She's really counter wrestling between the two styles of Kyoko Inoue and Toshi Yamada. Very much enjoyed Takako Inoue here. Yumiko Ota, odd person out. It doesn't surprise, and I'm very much kind of on the negative side of her, but she sticks out like a sore thumb in this promotion now. Whether it's her style, her look, or what have you, she just doesn't fit. And something needs to change with her to get to that level of her compatriots in AJW. Really like the finish. Hota and Inoue win in 19 minutes, 40 seconds. Again, this is a 3 out of 3 type match. There's not a lot of storytelling I'm really taking away from these matches, other than kind of a basic highlight a person in the match because we're booking them in something more important later. But you're, at least with the hindsight eyes here, the investment level of seeing connections to matches simply isn't there in this interpromotional era. Very curious to see, as we go through 94, do I, as a fan, start to lean away or just kind of accept and lean into it, depending on the case. And in the main event, this ruled. Cage match shows the Observer gave it 4 1/4. I tend to agree, maybe even go 4.5, because it's Aja Kong and Saki Asagawa going, if you hear that, that is my 1938 steam boiler in the back. And I apologize, but I'm recording in my newly finished basement to see how this works. It's very comfortable, and it's the middle of winter, and it's very warm down here. I love it. Nice and toasty. Speaking of toasty, Saki Asagawa and Aja Kong went to blows with Manami Toyota and Akira Hokuto as a team, and this team rules. And Aja Kong and Saki Asagawa, that team rules. Saki Asagawa, unfortunately, has to eat these falls. But not in this match. The finish in this match was incredible, where it shows Hokuto is about to get the not flipping Canadian Destroyer off the top, where Kong just does a backdrop and splats you. Hokuto reverses into a power bomb and kind of gets her in a roll-up position and sticks it. And Hokuto, coming off that big loss with her bummed out knee, coming off that surgery, where she didn't want the red belt because she was injured, she gets the win here with the roll-up over Aja Kong, roll-up powerbomb deal. And she kind of sits on her for a little bit, and her hair, her bleach blonde hair is kind of in her face, and she's got a kind of a shocked, open mouth to her. Then she realizes she wins, and her and Manami Toyota celebrate like they've pinned Buddha on the Great Wall of China. They're just jumping on the ring. They can't believe it. The Aja Kong wall has been toppled. And I did find some speculation in various weekly pro magazines where fans are writing in, and they seem to be, at least the fans of these magazines, think Aja Kong is stale. They reference the never-ending battle against Bull Nakano. How that went on too long. And by the time Kong beat Bull Nakano, yes, it was important for the wrestlers, but the fans were kind of already done and over with it. and they're kind of doing the same thing here with Aja Kong's title reign, but I did see a correlation with a lot of people seeing the rise of Kansai from JWP, giving Kong a credible opponent, and we can kind of see the same tactic there. Oh, Kong's not stale anymore because we got another big monster that's going to go after her, with LOPW gearing up Eagle Sawai for it. But if we look ahead, you know what's booked to not be on top? Aja Kong 3WA champion. That Eagle Sawai match is going to be, I think, fourth from the top, while Manami Toyota and Yamada are going to gun it in the main event for the All-Pacific title. So your white belt is on top. So this match was a surrogate to rebuild up Hokuto above Aja Kong, and then, very interesting enough, Manami Toyota and Yamada. Yamada, in fact, ate the pin in the last match, which is interesting. She got pyramid drivered by Toshi Yamada to lose. So if we're gearing up for a Toyota Yamada match, and we got Yamada losing and Toyota out of the fall, I can actually look up a couple of these house shows that they ran before Wrestling Queendom, which is going to take place on November 28th. If I go to, let's just go to this random show in Gunma on the 22nd, in front of 1,300 people, according to Cage Match. We got Yamada defeating Tomoko Watanabe, and doesn't look like Manami Toyota. Oh, Manami Toyota was on a losing team against Hokuto and Hota and Inoue. So nothing there. What about on the day 35 in Miyagi? We got Hokuto and Toyota against Kyoko Inoue and Hota. So just these two random things. I'm not even seeing a correlation into any build that's going on to these shows. So interesting non-booking going on there. But nonetheless, if we just look at on a tour at Korakuen Hall, and we got Aja Kong and Saki Asagawa, Kong throwing the back fist, Hasegawa throwing the heel kicks. We got Toyota doing hot tags and running herself into the turnbuckle face first, which is hilarious. We got Hokuto and Toyota both doing wacky, scary-ass dives, mid-moves into other things. Phenomenal match. This is actually one of my favorite tag matches of 1993. I highly recommend it. It's worth going out and seeking. And I'm very excited for the Wrestling Queendom show, which for the next podcast episode, Red Leaf Retrocast, there will not be a retro section with the holidays and what I gotta do. I just don't have the time. So I'm just gonna record a regular podcast proper. And then in January, mid-January, we're gonna come back and we're gonna do the entire Wrestling Queendom card on that episode. So we'll be a little bit delayed in some AJW Destiny here. But that show takes place at Osaka Joe Hall. The main event, again, is the All-Pacific title match, which has been vacant for quite some time. And in the semi-main event is the UWA tag title match of Inoue and Hota taking on Miki Honda and Kandori from LLPW. In the mid-card, it's Bull Nakano against Hikari Fukuoka. Oh, I am really into that match. Very excited. You can find the entire show from a DVD cut on YouTube. Easy to find. I believe it's from like Pro Wrestling Jewels. You can find. So enjoy the AJW Destiny. Seek out this Korakuen Hall show. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I know I was. I was thinking I was going to be here for like 10 minutes, but I in fact had a lot to say just from the excitement level and what else is going on in the promotion. They are still dealing with a lot of injuries, AJW, but to still be able to pull off some of these kind of random cards in the middle of a tour, gearing up for a big show in between another big show, is cool to see. And that'll do it for AJW Destiny. WCW Nitro, November 1st, 1999, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Ah, yes. I remember last year, 1998, Minneapolis, Minnesota, featured Eric Bischoff in a dunk tank in the middle of winter. That's what I remember from that show. Minnie. On this show, I'll assume it's a year later. I don't think that's important. I retain so little of this show now that I watched this only yesterday.
Mm.
And all I can remember is how the feeling of how much I think this show sucks. I have gone out of my way. Okay.
Yeah, man.
I was inspired by the last episode going into this one to listen to some Vince Russo podcasting.
Why?
Particularly about his time on Nitro. And also, by the way, I listened to an episode of Keeping It 100 with Disco and Conan. They actually got I generally will listen to that terrible podcast semi-frequently because I don't know, self-inflicted pain, I guess. There was a fan question that asked, who do you think is the worst booker in history? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Tanner, you feeling me so far?
Yeah, I'm here.
And Disco's response. Disco Inferno. The goofy comedy guy on this show. Okay?
Yeah.
His response was, most people would say Vince. He called them like not they're not informed of what's actually true. Because, and I'm not joking, this was the comparison. Vince Russo's booking is like the Godfather series. He made 2 of the greatest movies of all time, and then, he didn't make a very good one after that. Because if you're critical of Vince Russo's booking, then you're just ignoring all his WWF stuff.
Okay. That's quite the argument. Because I don't really man, how do I say this? A lot of the stuff that he contributed in the WWE, quite frankly, is not the stuff that the WWE canonizes as the most important things during the the Attitude Era wars, right? The Monday Night wars between WCW and WWE. What did Vince Russo contribute? Vince Russo maybe helped contribute to the idea of the Montreal Screwjob. I guess that's important, but nobody really looks on that.
According
fondly.
to him, he did have a suggestion. Yep.
Yeah, nobody really looks at that fondly, right? What was the Brawl for All? Where people actually got like long-term sustained injuries. Yeah, that's great, Vince. Good job. You definitely did that one. And where did that go? Nowhere. Bart Gunn got his head knocked out by Butterbean at the end of it, right? So I don't know, man. Maybe he has a different version of reality.
So
than
he thinks
any of us do.
He thinks, and so do his friends, and that includes one Disco. That
sure,
because he was involved on the team, therefore he was successful. And I don't know if you went to school once upon a time, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Once before.
Do you remember school projects on a team of 5?
Yeah, man.
There was always that one guy with the crazy ideas, and the other 4 just kind of look at him and go, "Did you really say that? All right, here, you go here. This is what we want you to do, Vince Russo. Here's some crayons. Go color inside the lines,
Yeah.
And if you want to, if you know what, we'll throw you a bone. If you want to draw a little monster on the side, we'll go for it.
Like, I'll
just
throw
because
this
the
one out,
team
too.
got an A doesn't mean that person contributed well.
Yeah, right. Like, let me see here. For those who watch basketball, here's a good analogy.
Okay, all right.
The last time the San Antonio Spurs won an NBA championship, they had signed Tracy McGrady to a 1-year contract. I believe it was Tracy McGrady. They signed him to a 1-year contract deal. And I think he played, oh gosh, not very often. He was the guy that you sent in the last 2 minutes of the game when everybody's calling timeouts, right? They won that championship, but I don't think you could say like Tracy McGrady in all of his, his glory and his earlier in his career, that he deserved winning that NBA championship because he was retiring that year. That was the last year he played. It was with the San Antonio Spurs. You don't, yes, he won that championship, but did he really do it himself? That's kind of hard to say, right? I don't know. It's I don't buy it, well, Mr. Again, Russo or Mr. Inferno for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was part of the team. I will grant that, yeah. But but it's very hard to say like you were effective, right? Like that's very difficult.
And don't get me wrong, there's everyone on their best day can come up with a good idea every now and again, but it's still up to the person above you to vet the bad ideas. And that's what a lot of journalists and critics, that, the smart ones will then go, well, if Vince McMahon wasn't there, what would have happened? Well, we're seeing what would have happened. This that we're watching on Monday Night Nitro in 1999. Mm. This is the non-vetted stuff. So I listen on to these Vince Russo diatribes of why he's actually good at what he does or why things didn't go wrong. And he's claiming right out of the gate, he didn't want to be a character on television. He never wanted that. Okay? Well,
apparently.
Let's nip that falsehood in the bud right now. From day one, as soon as he got booking power, he ran angles of reference him live on television that he was the writer from up north, the powers that be, and it's getting worse every week. It's just more and more, and it's escalating. So, Vince Russo says, well, the politics in the back ruined his motivation. Like, he says since day one, it was, well, these ratings are bad. Turn it around right away. And he goes, well, it's going to take 6 months. All right, fair answer. But the people at TNT said, no, you must do it essentially overnight. And he goes, well, fuck it, I'll do it myself. Well, he's not on screen yet, so that part's false right there. And we're almost a month into this thing, right?
Yeah.
But he's certainly part of the storyline since day one, and it's escalating. So this was his idea. This was his and Ed Ferrara's idea. They both came over from the Fed to Nitro.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm.
And various other, and we see all these things kind of coming together, and rewatching these. Well, I can't say rewatch because a lot of these I'm seeing for the first time now. Because
yeah,
now I know why my memory is just all over the place from like mid '98 on.
Right.
There's just so much shit happening. The show is so bad. It's very fascinating to watch at the same time because so much shit's happening in front of your face. So, last time, no. I'm
like
still
watching
going. I'm still going. I have to continue this because I went out of my way.
Venom out. He has to get the venom out of this.
I went out of my way to listen to all this poison.
Yeah.
And now I have retained that information. Remember last episode where it's referenced that Russo raised the ratings, and it was almost immediate. Okay? And I just kind of looked at the previous 2 weeks, and I went, okay, it was... And I have them pulled up now. I have the full ratings list. Ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
And I just loosely looked at the previous 2 weeks, and I go, oh, it was 2.6 and 2.9, and now we're at 3.3, 3.5. Okay.
Mm.
I mean, it's better. Number to number. Okay. But then you listen to Vince Russo. And again, I don't recommend doing this. It's poison in your ears. He says that Nitro was doing, and I listened to 3 different times he said this. So this is what he thinks is true. Okay? It's not just he wasn't thinking and he got it wrong.
He's consistent in the lie.
Right.
Okay.
So if you look at all of the previous ratings throughout Nitro in 99, let's go back to June. Okay? From June all the way to this mid-October, yes, there was a couple times that it dipped below 3, but it never got to 2.0. It never got below 2.6. There was only one time it got below 2.9, and that was that October 4th rating. Okay?
Okay, this is what he says.
No, he says, I'm putting out the facts. He says that Nitro was getting 2.0s consistently for months until he got there and got it up to a 3.5.
Okay.
Okay. And he said they rode that 3.5 rating all the way till the end of the year, and that's when he quit. Okay? So, all the way from June, it was about anywhere from about 3 to 4.5 at times. So it fluctuates, okay, up and down, but it was nowhere near what he says. No, it wasn't that. If you go back way in the early part of the year, it was still kind of 4 hovering, then dipping down again. A lot of things going on, but it is absolutely not true what he says. It just had a bad week the week before he got there. So he can point to that and be like, hey, look at that. I increased the rating, which is technically true, but only for 1 week. Because the previous week was so bad. For the rest of the year, this man in the ratings, and remember, it's only 2 months. That's how wild it is, okay?
Yeah.
He's only here for 2 months before he, quote unquote, quits. Okay? Isn't that wild?
Yeah, first run.
His first run is only 2 months.
Yeah. Jeez.
And it kind of hangs around the 3.2 until December 13th. 2.8. Ooh. But yeah, it kind of stays at this weird 3.2 range, plus or minus. Not very, it doesn't fluctuate very much, but you're not increasing and you're not decreasing, so fine. Contrary to what he says, he's generally always wrong about what he says. I would say 9 out of 10 times. He'll get one thing in there every now and again that he'd go, all right, he's okay, fine. He's right about that.
Yeah, he's like, I tried to push Lash LaRue. Yeah, okay, you're right there.
Right, yeah, he says things like that. But then when you watch Lash LaRue and you go, it sure doesn't feel like a push. Like, just because what you say is what you tried to do doesn't mean that was any successful at all. It's this whole show is like when you watch these Nitros, it's a walking contradiction to what any of these people say.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this goes. I mean, maybe it's the unprotected chair shots. Maybe that is skewing people's reality. I mean, it's no joke, and I'm not trying to make fun of mental health or brain damage or anything like that. But I mean, there's a reason why Vince was wearing that hockey helmet in that was it the King of the Mountain match or whatever the hell they did, the triple cage match towards the end of his second run. I mean, he had some really bad he was getting beat up a lot, and the damage was real that Vince was getting inflicted with. I wonder if this is just like if there's just damage that's carried over that is just influencing people's view on reality. That's just not. It just made it not true, right? It's just it's wild. Some of the things that I hear being said from Disco. But what's weird is, like, you know, I mean, I don't really hear or see Conan necessarily agreeing with a lot of what Disco says necessarily.
So
I think
that's what's always
there.
You're right. That's what's always interesting about it. So when Conan references WCW in the late 90s, he's very hush-hush about it generally. But there's always things that slip in where he just goes, "Oh yeah, that was all terrible. Everything was bad." I mean, in '99, he went on the radio. I can't remember if it was when Russo was there or not. He went on the radio and said WCW was a trash pile, and then he got suspended for it.
Yeah,
and then there's like fan questions that go, "Did you think you deserved to be suspended?" He goes, "Oh yeah." I knew what I was doing. Like, okay, fair enough.
I was trying to get suspended.
Oh, people were trying to leave this company, with the exception of Scott Steiner.
He was just wild, man. He was just out on the juice, and the juice was loose, and he was just a madman. I think that's what happened with Scott Steiner. I do want to fact check myself real quick. Tracy McGrady signed for the Spurs in 2013 as part of their playoff roster. So that part is true. But they lost that. He did. So
okay.
There.
Well, I mean,
I don't want to be another Vince Russo or Disco Inferno. That's the point I'm trying to prove.
Well, I got the point reference though. That's the thing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, see, there you go.
Because there's plenty of times when veterans sign on a team in their dying days, or even a rookie just happens to be on a winning team, and they got like 8 points a year, 8 points this season, you know, kind of thing. All right, so Nitro.
Yes, finally.
All right, so I have
the Nitro.
Yeah, I have the cage matchup of the show, so I can actually like look at these matches. Here's the. So I remember it's a 32-man tournament for the vacant World Heavyweight title. That's the ongoing storyline.
31-man plus Medusa.
Oh, of course, yes. If you want to get technical with it, who was already defeated but now gets a second chance. The results are of this entire show. I'm just gonna do the results because there's just so much. We'll never get through it all.
Yeah.
So they look at all the brackets and they're in blocks like it's March Madness. Maybe you could have built this up. I don't know, in March. This kind of would have worked in anyways.
Would have been very timely.
Yeah. So they show us this block, these blocks. It's like, oh, B block, C block, D block, and last week we saw, I guess it was A block. Who knows? You're like, okay, cool. There's a lot of names there. I guess. What are we gonna get about it? And then we get the results. Vampiro defeats Berlin, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Lash LaRue defeats the Cat. 56 seconds. Buff Bagwell defeats Stevie Ray by DQ in 2:49. By the way, that match, who ran in? Someone ran in.
During the Lash...
the Buff Bagwell Stevie Ray match. Someone ran in.
Buff Bagwell Stevie Ray. Let me see here.
Was it Creative Control?
Let's see here.
I feel like it was Creative Control.
You're probably right.
All right, we'll go with Creative Control because that's what happened last week.
Remember.
They beat his ass. That's the point. That's the point. It's like I don't know.
Write it down.
So the creative control runs down, and before like they hit anything, the ref the ref calls for the DQ, and I'm like, on who? What does that mean for the tournament? And before Penzer can make the announcement of who won, it's to the back. And I'm like, what happened? Who won? Oh, by the way, it was a strap match.
Yeah. Again, going back to the last episode, you know, they're doing this really quirky thing where it's like, cool, this is a tournament, but because we're interweaving all of these different storylines into the tournament, some of these matches will just be singles matches, and other matches will be like stipulation matches. It's
wacky
just
stip
really
matches, yeah.
wacky.
Yeah,
very strange. I guess it's kind of cool, but like, yeah. I mean, why is that a strap match? Why is
they're trying to explain why some of these matches have steps. They're trying to do that. It's just bad and doesn't make any sense. So Buff Bagwell's in the ring for this match, and Stevie Ray comes out and he cuts a promo saying the powers that be have declared that this is now a strap match, and Buff Bagwell goes something along the lines of, who decided that? They did? The guys up north? Well, what if I don't want to do it? And Stevie Ray goes, well, I got a, paycheck. Like, what? Oh, I hate these reasons. They're so bad.
Gotta get paid, man.
Gotta get paid, man. It's a gap tooth. We continue
fruit booties?
No fruit booty promos. That would have actually, at least popped me, but... We still got the ongoing, if Kurt Hennig gets pinned, he will be fired.
Yeah.
So last week he just straight up got DQ'd. This week he just gets counted out and loses to Disco Inferno. This is stupid. If he loses, he fucking loses. I don't want to see Kurt Hennig retire, but that's the story they're going with, and it's dumb. Why can't they just have this guy win? It's the world heavyweight title. He's fucking Kurt Hennig. Can't he win?
Win the whole tournament?
Sure.
I mean, maybe. I guess you could try.
That wouldn't be a bad story, right? Or he gets to the finals and loses. I don't know, and then you could do a controversial.
Narrative.
You could do a controversial finish, whereas one shoulder wasn't off the mat, and he has to do the Ric Flair '80s thing. I'm filing an injunction with the board of directors. My shoulder wasn't actually pinned. That would be, dare I say,
it would be a very
good storytelling.
Interesting. Yeah, it'd be a very interesting narrative. That's for sure. I could see that going places. Yeah,
right. And then, it's like, you build up to a match where it's like a rematch, and then he wins, and then he goes, well, since I win, the board of directors has decided that the shoulders being pinned down and I lose my job is no longer the case because I proved myself. I got my job back. I'm back on I'm back on the starting team, basically. A sports story, if you will. Crazy. Anyways, Norman Smiley is back to my most hated character on Nitro. This is terrible. He's in a hardcore match that I thought this was for the tournament because Mang won last week, and so did Norman Smiley via falling on Bam Bam Bigelow's nutsack with a trash can.
Yes.
So I'm watching this thinking, well, it's a tournament match. Every single other match has been a tournament match. These two were in the tournament last week because they flashed this massive bracket in front of you, and it's like, okay, that's a bunch of names there. I can't retain that.
Mm-hmm.
And nope, it's just a hardcore match that turns into a random three-way, I think in the middle of the match with the Barbarian. Maybe?
So I think it starts as Ming versus the Barbarian, and then also Norman Smiley. I I thought very genuinely, I thought this was a tournament match as well. And maybe it still is. I really don't know. But yeah, it does seem as though this is just some.
All right, let's see what our boy KB Wrestling Reviews say about this. Let's see here.
Yeah,
because
shout out KB Wrestling Reviews.
I thought it was Norman Smiley against Mang, and Norman comes out and he's Mr. Hardcore now, but then he comes out in like football and baseball gear, and they're making catcher jokes and those kind of things on commentary. Here we go. Mang, Barbarian, Smiley, 3-way hardcore match. Apparently Medusa is back in the tournament because it wasn't fair to have her fight Mang with no warning. Smiley is wearing the catcher's gear to the ring, which would eventually become football pads. The monsters fight in the corner, but Mang stops to beat him up. Tony thinks this is hilarious. The former faces of fear double team Smiley with weapon shots until Barbarian hits Mang in the head with a mop. Ugh. They do the same sequence again, but with a trash can instead of a mop. Norman keeps trying to fight back. Blah, blah, blah. However, it's so he just says it's a 3-way. Oh, it's the longest match of the night at a whopping 6 minutes 31 seconds.
Hey, look at that.
Hey. So, let's see here. Back to more double teaming of Smiley in the ring. A stretcher comes out to save Norman. However, it's a ruse as Norman sees both guys in the ring. Oh, right, because Barbarian's like on Meng's nuts or something. And Norman pins Barbarian. Big wiggle on the announcer table. I do remember that.
That's great.
I hate the show. Eddie Guerrero defeats Perry Saturn to save Tori Wilson from a cage. More on that later. That's a whole thing we must talk about. Sting and the Total Package defeat Kidman and Conan by DQ in 246. This was a World Tag Team title match, apparently. I don't remember that. Oh, yeah, that was the betrayal by the Total Package. I don't remember why it's a DQ. Do you?
Let me see here.
Okay, the answer is no.
No. Yeah, no. There's nothing in the description, the match description, that tells me. Oh, maybe it's because the filthy animals hit the ring, so DQ by interference.
And they beat up Sting? They beat up Sting because Package left.
They beat up Sting. Package is faking an injury.
I remember that.
And then Sting gets mad at the Package.
It's all part of Package's total maniacal plan.
Yeah,
because of the tournament.
If only Total Package was just doing full reps, doing squats, and not just like these mini reps just for hypertrophy, maybe he wouldn't have injured his leg.
Jeff Jarrett,
he had some of that bone broth. His leg wouldn't have broken.
Oh my god! So Jeff Jarrett's in the ring. He cuts a promo before his match. He wants Package to apologize for blaming him for the taking out of Miss Elizabeth, who, by the way, is just back the next week and she's totally fine. So I don't know why they're even like discussing this. He wants Luger to apologize for hitting Elizabeth. Anyways, he even goes as far as saying, I don't hit women anymore, unlike in the other company. Oh, I'm sorry. He says it by name. WWF. A lot of WWF references on this show.
Yeah. I mean, you had Kevin Nash dressed as Vince McMahon at one point.
Well, hold on. Hold your horses, okay? So Jeff Jarrett beats Booker T in like 2 minutes. Guitar shot, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you have commentary going, he is the chosen one. The powers that be has chosen him, blah, blah, blah. Medusa defeats Evan Courageous via lip lock. She uses her sexiness to defeat him. Evan Courageous is like, she's hot, bro.
Yeah, man.
There's a steel cage match. Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko, 4.5 minutes. That gets your...
Yeah. So thank you for pointing that out, because last episode I got confused. Because I was sincerely thinking that there's a cage match between these two at part of the tournament, And because they did the last man standing and it was a draw, they went and did this cage match, you see.
And this one was a tournament match.
Yeah, this is good. This is a good match. A short match for a cage match, a short match for a Benoit Malenko match, but it was fine.
Got some low bar going here. I mean, they plugged this fucking cage like all show, even at the start. It's like, if you see above the ring, there's a steel cage. Well, that's because the Filthy Animals and the Revolution are going at each other's throats. Malenko and Benoit couldn't figure out their differences in the last man standing match, so steel cage in the tournament tonight on Nitro. Yeah. Oh, what a match. 4 minutes later, it's over, and it's just like...
I guess I felt it was great compared to everything else.
And then the main event, Scott Hall defeats Sid Vicious in 5 minutes. Also a tournament match. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get to the 3 things I remember through the show.
Sure.
Okay. Tori Wilson rides in with Perry Saturn. She tries to run away in a very, very hot outfit, I must say. It's very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And the Revolution, Shane Douglas in his massive fucking cast. Like, my God. Kidnap her again. And I just went, again?
Yes. Yeah. And what do they do to her?
They put her in a very convenient shark cage.
Yes.
In which
every arena in America has a shark cage.
Well, if it was in a dunk tank, at least and then they put stuff around it, I could be like, oh, that was there last year. They just kept the dunk tank in the arena, but they didn't do that.
Basketball players going through arenas and being like, what the is that a shark cage? What the hell?
That's a hot here. That's a hot woman inside. Or no,
hey.
No.
Hey, how's it going?
with Shane Douglas last week, where he looks around both ways in the hallway and sticks her in the closet. They'll never find us in here. And now this week, I see him arriving at the Target Center or whatever the fuck it's called in '99, and he's just looking around the arena, going, a shark cage? Perfect. I don't know why that's here, but I'm going to use it. I'm going to stick Tori Wilson inside, and then I'm going to laugh. Because we're going to get those filthy animals back.
Mm-hmm.
And it cuts multiple times to Dean Malenko laughing. Ah!
Yeah, he's making some weird jokes on this show, too. Very un-Malenko-like jokes. He's like...
I didn't know what to make of this. And so yeah, back to Tori Wilson's outfit. Holy hell. Am I right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what's the payoff for Tori Wilson's in a shark cage? Well, go back to that Eddie Guerrero Perry Saturn match. That was our first instance of Russo booking a pole match.
Yes.
The key to Tori Wilson's cage is on the top. The Filthy Animals even went as far as... Revolution went as far as lubing the pole so the Filthy Animals couldn't get it. So then how do they win?
It's just so stupid.
So you got Asia, Malenko, everyone's just on the outside of both teams. Tori Wilson is in a shark cage that's on a forklift, because that's how they got it out there, and she's just banging around in it, looking hot. And you got Rey Mysterio ogling her, and Guerrero and Perry Saturn are trying to have a match. The funny part that I laughed at was Eddie Guerrero hits 3 suplexes, and then he tries to pin him, and he's like, ah, shit, gotta go up to the stupid pole. Ridiculous.
Poor Eddie Guerrero, man.
Yeah. And clearly there's like no DQ or anything because Shane Douglas got directly involved in front of the ref and just pushed Eddie Guerrero just straight off the top. He lands on the floor. So why aren't they just all just brawling in the... I don't know. I'm thinking about it way too hard. The point is Eddie Guerrero jumps, gets the key, and they're like, hey, save Tori. I have a feeling this is going to be a weekly thing. Tori Wilson shows up, gets kidnapped, blonde and distressed. They might as well wrap her up on some railroad tracks and start twirling fake mustaches.
Like Snidely Whiplash.
Yes, exactly.
Dun, 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 dun.
The only way you'll be able to save her is winning this wrestling match and then pulling the lever to the train tracks so the train diverts the other way. Ah! Save me, Kid Man!
Misses the shooting star press.
No! Crash, the end of Tori Wilson. They would do that. That would have been some TNA stuff.
Yeah. It'd be funny if they were able to coax the Mountie out, and have him save the day.
I'm the Mountie. This person's not Canadian. I'm so sorry, but I'm just gonna have to let you go. You're a man of the law. Anyway, oh my God. Okay. So the other thing I remember on this show, I guess it runs together, is the ongoing story of Nash and Hall with Bret Hart and Sid Vicious through the show.
Yeah. Goldberg. I think Goldberg's interweaved into this as well in a very minor way in this episode.
Was he on the show?
Yeah. I don't think he was actually on the show, but this does have a lot to do with his situation, right? Because the show starts and Bret Hart is saying that he doesn't feel like he is the real U.S. champion, that as far as he's concerned, that Goldberg is the U.S. champion because, Hall and Nash helped, inadvertently helped Hart defeat Goldberg, right? Hart didn't want, their help, but nonetheless, he got
by the
it.
way, do you remember Goldberg's second loss ever in WCW in his career?
During was it Bret Hart?
It's last week. That's right. Man. That was his second loss ever. It took Vince Russo 2 weeks to beat Goldberg. He could not wait to beat that man.
It's so dumb. Why are you this dumb? Why were you so bad at this, Vince Russo?
And then he's not even on the show this week. It's fucking
atrocious. He probably got pissed off. He's just like, I've already had it. He's like, I've already had it with this.
Speaking of Goldberg, the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame for 2022 came out, and I voted for 4 of the 5 people that got in. So I feel pretty good about that. And good percentages for the people I did vote for. Again, feel pretty good about that. Did Ross Yogawa get more votes than Goldberg? Sure did. Very happy about that. So the point is, bring up Goldberg. And everyone goes, can you tell the history of pro wrestling without Bill Goldberg? I guess technically no. Okay. But you also can't tell the story of baseball without Pete Rose. He's not in the Hall of Fame. My point is that people point to this era, like this 98 and some WCW, as like the super peak run. I've rewatched all this. We're watching this now. Goldberg is certainly popular. And he was a big deal in 1998 in a company that was going through the tubes. Okay? I don't deny that part. That was like 10 months. As soon as he won that title in July of 98, they did fuck all with the guy. And they're still doing fuck all with him now throughout 99. He was injured. He's on these television shows. He's certainly not on the show every week. And he's certainly not in big programs.
Yeah. I feel like...
this is not a Hall of Fame run.
No. And to be quite honest, I really do sincerely get the, not to go on a tangent here, but I do get people's fears that Wardlow is going down that same path that Goldberg did, and that, like, you know, people wanted to see him. People, like, he was red hot. What, 6 months ago? Maybe, yeah,
right. And there's no doubt people
hot.
Still like him.
Yeah, they love him. They like doing the Wardlow thing, but man, like, he's cooled off so much, and it's just like, you had such a good thing going. You know, I think you went and ruined it by giving him gold and not just, like, continuously having him pummel people until he got to the very top, right?
Well, that was the idea, and then the MJF thing happened, and that it went sour for that. So but it could have been fixed with a follow up, and there just hasn't been one. I mean, what reason? I mean, I definitely,
and maybe they will. Maybe they will have the follow up now that MJF's the champion. But I mean,
well, we'll see. But I'm not confident. I'm not confident.
I'm not either.
One of my huge critiques of Tony Khan is he doesn't book the mid card. He just does not book it. He would rather have main eventers against undercard guys over and over again, and think. Anyways, this is WCW. So yeah, Goldberg's on the show. Bret Hart, this isn't how I do business. Stay out of my business. I don't like how I don't like being the U.S. champion that way. And he's on his crutches. And Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, cool guys, right? Super cool.
Yeah, man.
They're totally cool, bro. And Scott Hall could not give a shit about what Bret Hart says. He's just like, he literally says, "Geez, get your panties out of a bunch, bro." And Kevin Nash starts saying, "Maybe I'll be a promoter." Scott Hall's like, "Are you high, bro?" It's like, "Yeah, you know, I'll give you." And he's saying,
"Are you ribbing me, brother?
Are you ribbing me, brother?" So much inside terms. I was annoyed. And they're talking about downside guarantees and contract stuff. I'm sorry, 1999, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody would care now. They would cringe and just go, "Look, it's cool for us to talk about it, but that's the line. In wrestling, you don't reference those things. Because it just sounds cringy when it comes from the wrestlers themselves on the show." So, Kevin Nash is going to be a promoter, and he goes through a makeup change. And the announcers plug this all night like it's a big deal. And you know Vince Russo's fingerprints are all over it. Oh, what a great idea, bro.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make him look like Vince McMahon. That'll get everyone on the internet talking. All like 10 people who had the internet in 99. Like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
So Nash,
AOL, man.
God.
Dial up.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to go to WCW.com and wait an hour for the page to load. He comes out looking like Vince McMahon. He's saying so many of the catchphrases and mannerisms. He fucking says, "I built sports entertainment from the ground up." And I'm going,
yeah.
And I'm like, Vince McMahon saw it as sports entertainment in the late 90s? I thought that was after the whole get the F out era. But, okay. No, I was just like, oh, okay. My timeline is but yeah.
Little bit different. Little bit different timeline.
Yeah. And he drowns on and on over this Vince McMahon parody thing, and I'm just going, I hate this so much. Please stop. Like it's like stress headache on your temples, and you're just going, oh. And then they introduce Scott Hall as what did they introduce, like well hung Scott Hall or something?
Yeah.
What was it?
Let me see.
It had something to do with penis, right?
Yeah, no, they were there. It was definitely some penis references, some dick jokes. Let me see here. Where's the fucking thing? Yeah, it was something along those lines where he was talking about how he was trouser snake.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. The trouser snake, Scott Hall. Oh my God. So, Bret Hart cut a promo earlier in the night. They come beat him up. Sid beats him up. The Outsiders come out and they hand Sid the title. And then the Outsiders, they like cut a deal with Sid because it's Scott Hall versus Sid in the main event. They're like, no, I'll lay down for you, brother. Okay. And whatever. That led to a swerve, if you will.
Yeah, man.
And Bret Hart comes down with his crutch. I thought it was DQ. Scott Hall pinned Vicious? I thought it was a DQ.
Scott Hall pinned Vicious. No. I mean, it would have normally been. Let me get back to the notes here. Here we go. Let's see here.
Brett comes out and breaks his crutch over Sid's back, allowing Hall to cover him for the pin.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Maybe it was inadvertent. I don't know. Probably was.
Well, as soon as Brett
I can't remember anything.
Yeah, well, as soon as Brett stumbles and misses Hall with the crutch, and I'm not joking, I'm watching this, I like look away for a second, and then the next episode of Nitro just starts. And I'm like, what the fuck? It just ended?
Yeah. Yeah. Now there was this definitely initiates this very weird, I don't know, very weird 5-way, well, I guess more or less a 4-way angle of Vicious, Hall, Hart, and Goldberg essentially over the US strap, which is, it's fun, and they interweaved into the tournament. Fair, that's fun. But yeah, it's just wild stuff. I'm not approving of this. I just they did a couple things right, but it is it is a mess. It's absolutely a mess.
I could have been fixing my washer, from backing up all the water in the piping. I did get that done, by the way. But I could have got it done a lot earlier. I could have built my gaming frame out of the 2x4s and everything that I got going. I'm really learning how to be like a man, this kind of thing. I'm working with tools. Okay. Yeah, I'm learning the higher trades of home ownership and the trials and tribulations of making that next check to spruce up the man cave.
Yeah.
And here I am watching Vince Russo booked Monday Night Nitro, and
how do you feel?
I don't feel great. I feel dirty. I feel angry. Wondering why I've had this like headache in the back of my neck for the last 3 days, and I think most of it was the anticipation of watching Nitro.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just tired.
Go and watch it, folks. Go and watch it. If you feel like you need to be angry at something, go and watch this episode. It might make you laugh. It will definitely make you cry. This is definitely an experience you won't get anywhere else.
I mean, I searched out. This is another thing I searched out. I guess saving it for the end works out.
Yeah.
Do you know how many, if you just type in the old Google or you go on Spotify or Podcast Addict or something, you just put in WCW Nitro reviews, Russo era. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many of those are like 4 episodes long and then they just don't have another episode after that?
Yeah.
Or it's we're going to watch WCW 2000. And then again, it's like 4 episodes and then it just stops.
Mm-hmm. You get the Brian and Vinny, the episodes where they're just raging, absolutely raging at the episode.
They rewatched.
Thankfully, they were getting paid.
Nitro. Right, but they were getting paid for it.
They were
and
getting
even
paid.
Then,
so there was
on a weekly basis, you listen to these guys and they just go, so this show sucks. It's the worst of all time. It's getting worse, right? I can't do this.
Mhm.
The funny thing listening to them compared to, say, these other podcasts that I sought out, and where they, like, the first episode, they're all excited. Oh, crazy kids over here gonna watch WCW in its dying years. We're gonna do it. Nope, they don't do it. Hey, I started this a couple years ago on the first episode of 1998 because that's the gap in my WCW knowledge. Is I was so sporadic as a kid, and the show didn't impress me. It's like, why did I stop watching? Well, fuck, I know why now, for sure. And it's without the nostalgia glasses, and now knowing all the politics behind it, I can also go, not only were the shows bad, but the politics behind the scenes were bad.
Exceptionally terrible.
Like, the worst. So I listen to Brian and Vinny, and they constantly reference, it's like, look at all this shit happening. How do you keep up with any of this? Like, just a year ago, they were making record profits, and then in 18 months, they're out of business. You realize how, like, stupendously terrible and inept and incompetent you have to be in order to go from record profits to getting fucking canceled? With this roster?
Yeah, man.
Like, I have my critiques over AEW, but holy hell, it's nowhere near this bad. Like, no chance. Even if I look at the worst of 98 or the best of 98, AEW is still better.
Yeah. I don't disagree, man. I don't disagree at all. It's wow.
I think I have my headache again. It's like right in my neck. So yeah. What a fun episode, eh?
It was something, man.
Did you have a favorite part? I feel like we should do that. Like, what did you like about the show? Name one thing.
I did think that the whole Kevin Nash dressing as Vince McMahon over the course of the episode, I did feel like that was funny.
I guess from a kooky, it doesn't matter perspective.
Yeah, because doesn't like there's a part where I think Sid comes in and he gets confused and he thinks that that's the real Vince.
That did happen.
That is, yeah. I feel like that was really
blows
funny.
A gasket. You fucking screwed me out of that money. He was like, whoa.
All right, hey, buddy. It's just me. Yeah, that was great. The rest of the show, not so much.
So no follow-up on Randy Savage and his lots of video packages throughout the show. Didn't mention that. Oh my god.
Nothing with Macho Man.
Nothing with Macho Man with his record-breaking ratings, passing the torch guy. Dustin Rhodes 7 with his pedophilia. That's disappeared. I still remember the piano guy lowering from the ceiling in the Sid entrance. The maestro. But we never got a follow-up on that. What did I like? I liked Bret Hart again. He was very serious about his position. He felt like an actual wrestler on the show. This is how I do business. I don't like to win my titles that way. Stay out of my business. Then he went out and tried to get his revenge on his busted leg, and he got beat up because he was...
Yeah.
Oh my god, there was... I think it was... Was it Sid who just goes, I won't take this from a cripple, and then he beats his ass?
Yeah, I think that happened. I think Bret Hart was genuinely the best performer across the entire show, like by far.
Not to mention, I forgot two things, and these were like crazy weird three things, crazy weird blunders on Nitro. There was the Nitro Girls cat fighting. Totally forgot to mention that. and Kimberly taking out David Flair with a crowbar, with crazy David Flair kind of intertwined throughout the show. But Kimberly, anyways, that's less important to the two things that are even better. Sid Vicious cutting a promo on Bret Hart. His music's hitting, and then he's trying to cut a promo, and the music won't stop.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
It just keeps going until he hits the ring, and then I guess the guy in the button's like, "Until he gets the ring, I'm not cutting this music off, brother." So you didn't hear a word Sid said. And then my favorite blunder was you have the Kidman cam, and him and the Filthy Animals are spying. It's like it's a real world cam. You know, and they're spying on Miss Elizabeth, and they're going, "I think she's about to change, guys."
Yeah,
and then it shows them with the door cracked open, and that's where you see Luger and Liz talking about they're plotting, and they're just going, "Hey, I hope she takes her clothes off." And then Luger and Liz cut their plotting off, and then you see in the left hand corner a cameraman of WCW go, "All right, cut, scene over," and then it goes to commercial. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, I don't know. It is wild. Just it'd be even better if they put the kid cam through the keyhole and it's like Luger with trowel dropped.
Oh, like it's the fucking Alice in Wonderland. You actually see the keyhole shadow and you're looking through it.
and it's just Luger.
Yeah, it's just Luger and he's posing.
Oh my God.
And he's got his music going. It's
flexing in the nude.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh God. That's not what we wanted at all."
Whoa! And then it goes back and they do the Liz and Luger promo. That'd be good TV.
I don't know if it'd be good TV.
Probably not. It'd probably be terrible TV.
All right, that does it for this episode, Tanner. I have another date to get to. I'll see you later, man.
It's a pleasure as always.